ones. I got the respect I feel like I deserve in the boxing world, and just the beginning. We're just getting started, man.
Stevie kept telling me, one arm, one leg, you're gonna beat this girl, so yeah. Then when I got into the ring, I was like, are you kidding me? This is going to be war. This is the toughest thing I've ever had to do.
As well, like we got like Josh the Boss Wagner, we have Lucas, Ryan, the list goes on and on. Like let everybody know and stuff, like how is it like just coaching and be behind that whole cast?
Over 100 fights, so that level of trust is there.
Wow, thank you guys for coming, guys. I gotta say, welcome to the CSN. This place is amazing, and this is the first ever Johnny I Pro show live. Guys, let's start this off with the coach of champions, the leader of the Avengers, Stevie Bailey! Thank you everybody for coming by. Now, Stevie, welcome. The first ever Johnny I Pro show live.
It's a pleasure, my honor.
I gotta say now, let's start off by saying this. As you know, I call you the coach of champions, the leader of the Avengers. Let's talk about your whole cast you have. Obviously, we have here your wife, Sarah Bailey.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the name changed there. It's about damn time, as they say.
Yeah.
Obviously, as well, like we got like Josh the Boss Wagner, we have Lucas, Ryan, the list goes on and on. Like let everybody know and stuff, like how is it like just coaching and be behind that whole cast?
It's a fun process. It's a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, a lot of babysitting, a lot of go home, come in, but it's enjoyable.
Exactly.
It's
now
enjoyable.
you're all over MMA now, UFC. You obviously recent trip. Let the people know. Can that come out or?
Yeah. It's one guy. I've refused to get involved in more than one guy. He snuck his way in. I've been with him for 6 years, and he's been a big part of the gym.
And now you're involved like so many champions, like WBA, obviously IBF, IBA. Now WBC soon to come, obviously.
Hopefully, they're delaying it as much as they can. Don King's playing a lot of tricks with Ryan, and Ryan's a tough man to keep on the straight and narrow. He's pretty frustrated right now, but hopefully that fight happens soon.
Let's talk about the trip to Vegas. 'Cause obviously you posted about it. Like how was like the whole thing at the UFC facility itself?
Dana White's a genius. He's created a unbelievable facility down there. It's got everything you could ever imagine, and he's probably 20 years from now, that sport's going to be next level. Like he's basically creating the best athletes possible, best coaching possible, best facility possible.
They're also involved with WWE now. Do you like that?
I love that.
Yeah, of course, the best.
I got there a day late, otherwise there was a show at the Apex. If I got there a day before, I would have gone to watch.
Oh wow, I was going to
NXT.
say now, everybody knows UFC and Bailey, you have like the Irish touch, let's say. But let everybody know, like born and raised in Ireland. How was that?
Quiet. I come from a place of 800 people. So room like this, everybody's a second cousin, and then everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. Everybody knows what's going on, and there's not much happening.
Now, how about the transition now from Ireland to Canada? How was that?
Yeah, it was interesting. Like the 2 stories is the highest thing I ever seen in my life. I didn't see anything like that. The roads were small. Everything's big here. The heat. I never saw a sunny day more than twice in a row. It's very cold back in Ireland. Very cold, especially in the West Coast. The diversity here is different. And you gotta get used to different races, different ethnicities. The way we spoke back home was not really like acceptable here. So
Exactly.
I've changed a lot since I came, but I like it here. I like it here, and obviously 12 years later, I'm still here. I met my wife here, and I like Canada.
Exactly. Like, what are the differences now and similarities? Boxing. I remember we talked about that last time. Boxing in Ireland. So let the people know, like this.
It's just the depth, right? Your country's too big. In Ireland, you can go north to south 9 hours, east to west 6 hours. So like, if the best guy's boxing in Dublin, the kid 6 hours away knows exactly what he's been doing. I grew up, I saw Katie Taylor fought live 5-6 times. I saw Michael Conlan live in front of me 5 or 6 times. These are some of the best boxers in the world. Joe Ward was an Olympian. Ken Egan was Olympic silver medalist. Ryan Burnett was a unified world champion. Carl Frampton was unified world. I watched all these guys as amateurs in front of me. You don't have that luxury here because the best guy might be in Vancouver, which is a 5-hour flight away. So we're very lucky in such a small island, you can really grow the sport. Whereas here, it's like, you know, like a guy like Tyler will tell you, he sees a good guy, he's 6 hours away. How do you get your hands on him? It's very tough.
Exactly. Now what got you into boxing? Was that your first love?
Yeah, boxing and probably pro wrestling in the house was the only 2 things everyone agreed on. Other than that, it was chaos because 8 kids in the house was a lot to handle. Where I'm from, there's 2 sports. There's boxing and Gaelic football, and that's it. Next closest thing is 60 miles away, and it's country road. and everybody fights there. So boxing is just like
I'm gonna say football. We talked about this last time. Tell everybody who do you support.
Manchester United.
Ooh.
They're having a tough time right now. It's been a downtime for the last 10 years since Ferguson left.
Probably one of the greatest coaches of all time, Sir Ferguson.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But we have Gaelic football, which is an Irish sport. It's a little rougher, a little more physical contact than soccer.
Exactly. Now the Euros are up now. Who do you got?
I haven't watched one game in the Euros.
Next question.
Yeah, I haven't watched one game. Miguel will tell you, the guys will tell you, I'm in the gym every day, 5 a.m. I'm not leaving until 9 or 10.
Yeah, your schedule's bananas. We'll get into that for sure. Now, you said wrestling. Now, obviously, this all started like with wrestling, how we just connected and stuff. Like, let's talk about wrestling. Like, growing up, you said VHS is the whole...
Oh, everything. My brother was a tape collector, so he collected all the early UFC, Pride, any Japanese, like Pancreas. He collected all the old wrestling tapes. And then my father lived in London in the 70s and 80s, so he would go to all the dinner events for boxing. He would all go to all the pro wrestling events. So when he came back, he kind of brought that to us. Exactly. And that again was like the only thing everyone in the house agreed on.
If you have it now, let people know top 3 best ever wrestling.
Well, I have to say Bret Hart because.
Okay, now I love you. That's why I love you. That's why I love you.
Bret Hart, Steve Austin, Robbie Hogan. But Bret Hart's number 1.
Yeah, of course.
I'm well aware.
So you obviously be there, you know. And I gotta say, now, like, if you like somebody right now, like the crowd, you got the young crowd here, like wants to like join combat sports, like what are you gonna tell them?
You have to be committed to what you said and not what you're feeling, because on Monday you want to be a world champ, but Tuesday you want to go out and party. So like people are very loyal to their mood and not what they said. It takes time to build that up, but it took Sarah 13 years of not having a life to become a world champ. Everyone sees the ending, no one sees the work,
exactly.
Right? Like in Tyler, there's a promoter. If you go back to the first ever show they did on BoxRec, like it's a lot different to the show he did lately for a world title. It's comical. Like that takes 20 years to get there. Exactly. People want instant gratification. So you got to find a good coach. You got to stay committed. Just sacrifice a little bit of stuff for 5, 6, 7 years and be amazed where you get. People want to have everything at once. They want to have the party lifestyle. They want to have the sport. They want to have this. They want to have this. And they should probably get rid of all their social media to start, because there's too much information there and people don't know what they're looking at. Everyone's an expert.
Exactly. One thing as well is that, that people come to the fights and they're quick to judge, but they don't know like that hard work, the dedication, the fire to butts for months, potentially missing birthdays, parties, whatever it may be. They just come to the fight. Perhaps the guy gets knocked out first, second round, and they quick to judge him. But they know that hard work and dedication that went into that just for that fight.
Everyone says on this outside, he's a bum.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. If it's that easy, let's go.
Yeah.
Show us how it's done. And pro boxing, especially with those small gloves, anybody can get hurt. Amateur boxing, safer. The gloves, it's hard to make a fist. All the padding's at the front. It's a little more difficult. Like we had an amateur guy fight last night, and he threw like 900 power shots and he gassed himself out, but he did well, and he's on a nice win streak now. He's 9 fights in a row. He's winning, and he's staying active, and hopefully 5 years from now he's sitting up here with his own title.
The future.
Exactly.
Blanco, you got big people here. You never know.
Right? But I'm still working with these guys too.
Of course.
Like last weekend I had 2 14-year-old girls having their second fight. Weekend before I have 2 15-year-old boys having their second fight. And, 3 weeks before that I'm having a world title fight.
Exactly.
But if you don't bring up the next group, you're going to run out of people.
Next generation. Now I got it. We're saying, Gwen?
Yeah, like we got lots of good, exciting prospects coming in. The problem is you have to invest a lot of time in them, and sometimes it doesn't always work out. But you can't change the effort you put into them because it doesn't work out, because the next one you might try with is the person who work with. Like how many fighters did the promoter go through to get his first world champ? You can't you get careful, you cover yourself, you don't overexpose yourself maybe emotionally. And like I have a couple of guys in the gym now I have really high hopes for. They're amateurs, they have less than 10 fights, and I genuinely think in like 3 or 4 years time I have a main event in a pro show.
That's big words there. I gotta say now give us some. We all love to hear these boxing stories, but the one I love to hear is the best. The Ryan Rizicki versus Rivas fight. Like the end of the fight. People have to hear this. This is like a crazy story.
Well, the beginning of the fight, like we all know Ryan's a little crazy.
Yeah, not normal, obviously.
He's falling asleep in the back before the fight. And Carlos even went over to him and was like, "You okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm just taking a nap." Biggest fight of his career. Anyways, it was a tough fight for him, and we're in the back. He didn't want to get looked at. He was a bit of a panic, so I threw him straight in the ambulance. Went back. Next thing he shut down. His body went into failure. His kidneys were shutting down. I'm just there with him for like 8 hours. It was a like very tough night. They put like 4 bags of IVs into him before he woke up. Stitched him. They got his kidneys going again. Like it was crazy.
Yes, and now what's going on?
That's
with this?
the side that people don't see.
Exactly.
Like they don't see that side of it, where it's like easy to judge a guy, but you weren't there in the hospital bed for the suffering he put up with, right?
But now what's going on with the WBC title shot? Like what's going on?
I don't know. There's probably promoters who can answer that question better than me, but there's a lot of business in boxing, and there's a lot of people who try and do bad business. And then look, McClellan could fight Ryan for X amount of dollars, and it's a very tough fight, and Ryan's not as well known yet across the world. Whereas McClellan could take maybe a considerably easier fight for more money with a guy who's more well known. It's not that anyone's afraid of each other. It's just business.
Exactly.
It's just business, and people try and work around things as much as they can, right?
Exactly. Now, obviously, the last fight as well, big one was Lucas Body.
Yeah.
Like, Prince is one of the best. I gotta say now, like, you see his words after the fight, which was great, got everybody amped. Like, he's ready for those big fights. Do you think he's ready for those?
Yeah, Lucas, in the last 7 years, the longest I probably haven't seen him in that time is a week. Like, he's on point, he gets it, he knows what he has to do, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, takes care of his body. Every year he gets a little better physically in how he treats himself. But he's in a tough spot where, unfortunately, in Canada, you're not really. It's a tough, like, all you care about is hockey here.
Of course.
So he's too good for anyone to want to take a risk on him, but he's not so good where all the big guys want to bring him in. And then sometimes, the business side of boxing, you can confuse, where you should be and where you shouldn't be.
Yeah, makes sense for sure. And I gotta say now, recent name changes. Sarah, obviously, should be coming out soon.
Yeah.
I gotta show you this photo. Let's show you this photo right here, right there. Let's
Yeah.
talk about this photo right
Kids,
here.
yeah.
Okay, guys, let's talk about this photo right here.
Yeah.
How did this all come about? Like you and this an iconic love story. Smile.
Yeah,
smile.
yeah. I think that was her 25th fight that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
She has had what, over 120 amateur fights, I believe.
About 140 amateur fights.
Wow. And talk about the whole journey now with Sarah. How did this come about?
I met her in Montreal. She was fighting an Olympian in her 12th amateur fight, and she was boxing kind of funny, but putting on she was fighting really well. Whereas the other girl had all the experience and was out boxing her. But I'm looking at the girl with 12 fights. I'm looking at the Olympian, and I preferred the look of the girl with 12 fights.
Of course.
So I came up to her afterwards. If you just fixed your feet, you'd be a little better. She goes, both my feet are fractured. I'm like, oh, that's pretty impressive then. I wonder you're... So I said, listen, I'm in Ontario. Tavina just won nationals. I got a lot of women in the gym. If you ever want to come down there and train. She came, trained for about a year. There was nothing going on. She'll tell you herself. I was the ugliest thing in the world to her. I was just a coach. And then we were both in the middle of getting new apartments. I didn't know anyone in Guelph, so we moved in together. And then a year later, that's...
Boom.
Yeah, tricked me. yeah.
She fell in love. Fell in love with an Irish god.
Could you blame her? Could you blame her?
Let's talk about now Josh the Boss Wagner's journey.
Yeah.
18-0, new IBF champion.
Yeah.
Now, how's the whole journey since you got with him?
I think we've done 8 or 9 fights together. I think the first year he might have been one of the busiest pros, definitely in Canada, but maybe even North America, 6, 7 fights in the space of 15, 16 months. He was super active, super busy, which is good for him. Because Josh he's that mindset where he needs something going on at all times. Very talented guy. He knows how talented he is. He just has to harness it more, and who knows what he could accomplish.
Exactly. Now, you know what? I got to say thank you so much. Now, you know what? I think it's time to bring out Josh the Boss Wagner. Wagner. How you feeling, chat?
What's up, everyone? How's it going, Johnny? How are you, bro?
Good, fantastic. Now, let's talk to the people now. Before this all started, let the people know how this all boxing came about when we first met, and that's how everything grew, basically. Now, I obviously slid his DM. Relax. Okay. He was having his main event at the CAA Center, and that's how it all started. And look how it blossomed.
I know. I'm so happy it happened, man. It's so freaking awesome to be here and to be a part of this. And it's a true blessing. I think I was 13-0 when it happened. And like you said, he DM'd me on Instagram, and he's like, I want to get into the boxing scene. And he did a behind the scenes little shoot for me, and the rest is history. Here we are, man.
18-0, and exactly, more to come, obviously.
Let's go.
Let's go. Like I said, I want to take you through this now. This just happened recently as well. Right there. Talk about this right now. New IBF champion right here.
So
talk about that fight.
This is this belt right here. It's the IBF International welterweight belt. It put me, I'm ranked number 12 in the IBF sanction, which is one of the main 4 sanctions in boxing. So I have 2 other belts before this, and they meant a lot to me as well, but this belt definitely trumps those ones. I got the respect I feel like I deserve in the boxing world, and it's just the beginning. We're just getting started, man.
Exactly. Now, right beside you right there, the coach of champions, Stevie Bailey. Let us know, what does he mean to you?
Oh, this guy right here is more than just a coach. I consider him like a brother, a mentor, and I'm just truly blessed to be a part of the team. And a lot of my growth, I have to thank him for that. So he is definitely behind the scenes. He's the guy with all the secrets and all the answers, man.
Exactly. Man love there, you see? Every night.
I gotta his DMs, Johnny. Okay?
I gotta say now, growing up in Orangeville, let the people know, how was that growing up in Orangeville?
So Orangeville is about an hour north of Toronto here, and it's a small town. We've had a few big names, not huge names, but a lot of boxing has come out of Orangeville. I grew up, it was a gym called Big Time Boxing. Brian Mackey was my coach. He was a professional boxer. He fought for a Canadian title, a couple big name fights. But yeah, man, small town. They definitely have my back. And I'm just trying to put Orangeville on the map. Small town kid trying to do big things.
Exactly. It's showing there. Like, now what got you into boxing?
So I had my first fight when I was 13 years old. I walked into the gym when I was 12 years old. I grew up, I played hockey, lacrosse, was always in competitive sports. I have an older brother who also was a professional fighter. He's 3 years older than me. And growing up, I kind of always did what he did. You know, it's my older bro. And he walked into a boxing gym, and I kind of followed suit and fell in love with it, man.
Like, what were your inspiration? Was it like is it like family? Was it your brother that was your inspiration growing up?
I think when I first started, obviously my brother was a huge part of that. But then obviously, you know, when I first started boxing, I actually, the beginning of my amateur career, I think I had my first 5 fights. It was 2 wins, 3 losses. And I kind of thought, okay, you know, I don't know if am I really going to be able to do this? Because I like to win. I'm a winner, and I wasn't doing that well. And my coach just told me to keep sticking with it. And I ended up winning 17 or 18 fights in a row, won national championship. And then I'm like, okay, I think I can actually give this a go. And then I started taking it more seriously. And now it's my full time. It's my life, man.
Exactly. And I got to say, family's huge with you, obviously. I know you obviously have your family here as well, sister and your future wife. See the plug there? And I gotta say, now, like, how big is like family? Obviously, you got you're in the corner. Your brother's at every fight in the corner. Sometimes he screams a little louder than Stevie. But let's just say, like, how is it always having your brother in his corner?
Yes. So family is huge to me. It's everything. Honestly, they're my motivation. They're my driving force. They're my #1 supporters. And obviously, you know, I'm doing this for myself, but they're obviously a huge part of that. And I just want to make them proud and make Orangeville proud. They're definitely a huge driving force for that.
Exactly. Now, you remember before I had recently on the show as well, Jake as well, recently retired, and you were telling me before, like, growing up with his older brother, this, and you're telling me some funny stories. Is there any funny stories you have, like, growing up with your brother, like,
so how that all started out, I've been in the gym for maybe a week, had no fights, no boxing experience. So Jake's older brother, he had like 5 amateur fights at the time, and we actually got in a street fight. I won.
I hope so.
Yes. And then we ended up just becoming best friends after that. And Jake, I think he's 5 or 6 years younger than me. So he's always been a little brother to me. And, you know, we just have so much history. We started boxing together. I actually started taking it seriously. And then, he's still family to this day. He's not fighting anymore. He's moved on to other things. But yeah, he'll always be a part of my life. And boxing is our identity.
Yeah,
especially coming from a small town too, so it adds on to that, you know.
And then we gotta know now this whole inspiration behind the green or neon green mohawk and your whole attire, the neon green. Like, let the people know where did that come from?
Honestly, it was like when I made my comeback. My first, I think I was 8-0, and I didn't have the mohawk. It was not a thing. To be honest, I don't even know how the idea came about, but I'm like, you know what, I want to do a lime green mohawk for this fight. I got all the matching green, and then afterwards, what made it stick is I was in a Walmart or I was in a store, and there was kids that saw me fight, and they didn't remember my name, but they remembered I had a lime green mohawk. Okay. So when that happened, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna keep this going, and I don't keep it all the time. Like, I don't have a lime green mohawk now, but because whenever I see people, they're like, oh, like, where's the lime green mohawk? And I'm like, no, that's me turning into the boss. That's fight week. I have a whole tradition. I do fight week. So I go in, I have the same barber. We have a whole routine. And yeah, now I'm keeping it, man.
like
I might have to change the color up, but everything's gonna be matching.
No, it's got to stay green. It's got to. That's your traditional process.
Yes.
You got to stay green for that. I guess we're talking about fights. Like your most memorable fight to date, because fans love to hear this.
I think so. Amateur and pro, like they're obviously the same sport, but I feel like the amateur and pro is very different. Like in soccer, hockey, the lead up is very similar, but with boxing, the scoring, the judging, the way of fighting I feel like it's very different. And so I think amateur, my most memorable fight would probably be my first nationals that I won. I was 17 years old, and that was obviously a huge moment in my life where I became #1 in Canada. People started taking me, you know what I mean? I was the #1. So for amateur, that was probably my most memorable fight. For professional, there's definitely a couple. You know, my title fights are huge, but I think when I first made my comeback, I had a 5-year layoff, and you know, everyone kind of counted me out. I was 6-0 at the time, but I hadn't fought for 5 years, and I came back and I went and fought in someone's hometown, and he was undefeated as well. So I was kind of counted out. So I think that was probably the most memorable because I went in there as the underdog and I completely crushed the guy. And then people started taking it seriously again. So that was probably the most memorable. But all my title fights, there's a lot, man. Like it's hard to pick just one.
Exactly. Now, who's your toughest opponent?
I'm going to have to say my first title fight, his name was Jorge Perez. This was a fight where I feel like I was down on the scorecards. And I think it was the 9th round where I got the TKO stoppage. But it was the first fight where I knew I was down, I knew I was losing, and I knew if I didn't change or do something different, I was going to lose. So I think overcoming that was a big deal for me. So that's probably why I would name him the toughest opponent for sure.
Now your whole training regime, we see obviously on Instagram, everybody scrolls 5-10 kilometers running. In the morning, you're at the West End gym, the best gym in the world. Like, you know how like what goes really through your mind? Like, how are you doing all this? Are you human or like?
So I do I like to challenge myself. I always, when I am training for a fight, I work my ass off. So yeah, you'll see me doing these crazy 20-kilometer runs. I'm not a marathon runner, but I do like to push myself and challenge myself. And I feel like in the sport of boxing, you need to have that mindset. There's going to be times in fights where you have to dig deep, and I try to do that outside of the ring, so I have that mindset, so it's not new and it's not a shock when it happens, and you got to face it. But yes, I am human, and I just feel like you have to have that mindset of someone's working hard, you have to work harder, and yeah, man, we're just continuing to grow. I feel like I still have a lot to work on. Of course. Like I said, I am human, right? I hope there's still a lot to work on, but yeah, we're slowly getting there, man, and big things are coming.
Now, what's your personal goal in boxing, like when it's all said and done?
I think when I first started boxing, it was more of an outlet to, you know, aggression and just structure, routine, all that. Now I'm at a point where I feel like I can actually do something where I can leave a legacy for myself, for my town and my family. I can make some money. But my main objective is to win a world title, be the first person from Orangeville, Ontario to win a world title. And I feel like we're on our way there, and just got to trust the process and keep working.
He's like, now I got to show you a photo right here. What does this mean to you right here? Let us know the whole background around this right here.
So this was, like I said before, I had a 5-year layoff. This was before that. I lived out west in Alberta. So this guy here, his name's Milan. He's passed now. This is Mo. He's also passed away as well. And this is my brother Ryan. This picture means a lot to me because this is a point in my life where, like I said, this was my team. I wasn't with the United right now. It wasn't even a question. I was fighting out west. And yes, this guy, he took me under his wing. The first day I walked into the gym, he had no idea who I was. I just moved out west from here, from Ontario, and I sparred one of his best guys in the gym at the time. And I remember as I'm sparring the guy, like I said, I'm not a cocky guy, but I do have a lot of confidence when I'm boxing. And so I told him I want to turn pro. I'm amateur. He knew my coach, Brian Mackey. But I remember I'm sparring and the guy's throwing punches at me and I'm not even looking at the guy sparring me. I'm actually looking at him while the guy's punching me. And I remember he just kind of had this look like this kid can do it. You know what I mean? So he always believed in me. He, like I said, unfortunately he has passed away, but before he passed, he was my #1 supporter. He always helped me out. He always had my belief. And I feel like he's definitely looking down, happy to see where I'm at now.
And I know you cherish this photo a lot, so when it's done, this is yours. Gift from me to you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Say now, your last event, obviously with United, co-main event, then you have main event, Sarah, Bailey. Like, how was that like, just knowing that you're going to war with like a teammate literally right after?
Honestly, like I said, I feel like United has a stacked team right now. So there's so many main event fighters. So like, I don't take offense when someone else gets the main event spot, especially with Sarah creating history, doing what she did, fighting for a world title. It just, honestly, it motivates me. Being in the gym around those kind of people, like I said, I'm not perfect, and there's very minimal people that give me inspiration, and Sarah, I feel, is one of those people. She's the definition of hard work and consistency, and like I said, just being around Stevie and the whole team at West End, it levels me up and kind of puts things in perspective of what I got to do and what needs to be done. And I'm blessed to call them family, man.
Exactly. Now, Stevie, how do you do it? Like, just 2 fights, mega fights like that, and the same night? Like, after a half, I'll probably be sleeping, but you're like going 2 full fights.
You have a lot of guys in the back, and the promoters are really good. They'll work with you, and they put someone in the middle. They'll put someone between you, especially if they're actually trying to help you. Some other guys are not the best at that. And then you have a belief in your guys, right? Like, they're both experienced. Like, I've had a lot of fights with them, so it's not like you got to be completely babysitting them in the back, but you do want to have that time with them where they can be comfortable that you're beside them. Sometimes they don't even talk back there. They don't say too much because we've already said enough in the gym, right? So it's just about being there. And I'm more nervous during camp to make sure we're doing everything right. Once the night of the fights, there's nothing else you can do, so I don't really stress too much.
Exactly. Now, I got to say now, Josh, like, what best describes Sarah?
Like one word or
whatever comes out of your heart.
I think she is, like I said, the most hardworking, humble, dedicated athlete fighter that I have personally met. Her resilience, her self-belief, and like I said, I truly appreciate people that are genuine. And she's at a point in her life where she's made history, and she will give anyone the shirt off her back, anyone the time of day, and I truly respect that in her.
And now that we're mentioning Sarah, I think it's time.
Let's
Guys,
go.
Let's welcome the new WA champion of the world, Sarah Bailey. There's the smooch. I love you too, don't worry. Thanks, buddy. You get one later. Get one later. I can say now, I got new champion. Let's start off by saying this. New champion, congrats.
Thank you.
Obviously, new change of name.
Yes,
Welcome.
we had to do that. Yeah.
I gotta say now, like, how was life as I like to call you, the GOAT? Because there's nobody else in women's boxing in Canada that's as good as Sarah Bailey right here. Am I right, guys? Come on. Like how's life as a champion?
You know what? Once they handed that belt over to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is not enough. I'm not satisfied. What's next? I need the next one. I need all 4 on my,
Exactly.
It's not enough.
And obviously, you recently had a birthday. Guys, happy birthday right here, obviously. And then they go right there. Now, before you start, I'm going to show you this right here. The night where it basically changed right there. You got that right there. Let's go through that night right there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot was happening weeks before that with injuries. I had a crazy eye injury that I was suffering with, and it was like a lot of doubts in my mind. Can I do this? Can I go forward with it? Do we need to postpone and delay it? And Stevie kept telling me, 1 arm, 1 leg, you're gonna beat this girl. So he had all like the confidence in me. And then when I got into the ring, I was like, are you kidding me? This is going to be war. This is the toughest thing I've ever had to do. And after that first round, I come back and he's like, how's your eye? And I'm like, don't even ask. Don't bother, because this is not going to be good. I just have to stick to the game plan. I just kept staring at him in between rounds, like, okay, what are you telling me to do? What do I do next? Like, and tried to follow it to the T, because I knew had I not, I would have been in big danger.
Anything to say about that, Stevie? Is your fault? No.
Yeah, well, even my fault, always my fault.
Yeah.
But to follow up on your question earlier about amateurs, the reason why that works so well is because we developed such a relationship as a coach and athlete over 10 years in the amateur game together. We've been through thousands of rounds, 10,000 rounds of sparring, over 100 fights. So that level of trust is there. That's one bit of advice I would give an amateur too, is to find someone you can really build trust with. Nothing to do with being husband and wife. Like, we genuinely trust each other in the ring. So like, she'll follow instruction, right? It's almost like playing a game sometimes in the corner. You say something and she'll do it straight away.
Exactly. Now, but how do you handle like the pressure and expectation on the grandest stage? That was like the top of the top that day. Like, how do you handle that?
I mean, I've had almost 140 amateur fights, and I've been on the world stage before. To me, I treat them all the same, and it was just another day. It was another fight that I had to win, and another injury I had to overcome, another bit of adversity I had to overcome. In my debut, I had to overcome a lot of things, personal. Family things that were happening. In my third fight, with my brother passing away, I had to overcome that. So it to me, it's just like, it's another day at work. Like, I have so much that's happening in my personal life that when I go in the ring, like, that's my fun time. That's Sarah's time. That's my time to finally perform and do what I love. And I don't feel that pressure at all, because there's so much background stuff that's happening.
And it could be worse, obviously.
Things could be much worse in life.
Exactly. Now, your training camp, you don't even. You don't even train. You're trained like every day. Like, I remember 2 days after the fight or so, like, Stevie sends me a video, obviously, and you're like, I remember you wearing my shirt. You're like, oh, gotta have her on the show. I'm like, wait, didn't you just fight, like, had a war like 2 days ago, and you're training right away? Like how? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, I first of all, I feel like if I stop, that's when everything really sinks in and everything's sore and I can't move. And for me, again, like, I love what I'm doing. Stevie constantly has to like slow me down and tell me, like, today is a day off. Like, you're not coming to the gym. And I secretly will go to Pilates and I'll do my own thing anyways. And I'll go on my runs. And I have all these like ankle, foot problems. And he's like, don't be running. And I'm like, no, but I love it too much. Like, I love it so much that to me, it's just like, you wake up and this is just what you do. Like taking your kids to school, it's just like, this is what you do, Sarah. Today, this is your checklist.
And he's a huge fan of the dogs as well, I've heard. Like, you're a dog guy, you're a huge fan.
Yeah.
9 pounds of Fury, Lola, 20 pounds of Fury now.
Yeah, we like our little dogs. Yeah, I want a third one. I'm obsessed with the wiener dogs, so like, I want another one really badly.
How is it like having like him, like your husband, in your corner?
It started out as coach athlete, so I still only see it like that. I don't see him as my husband in the corner. Even just at the gym, like the amount of times people still to this day, like, you two are together, like, there's nobody could tell that we are, because we just keep it so professional. At home, I get mad at him a lot, like, he'll be like, what's for dinner? I'm like, well, you don't have dinner today because you were mean to me at the gym. So like, you're on your own. But no, at the gym, like, it's strictly professional. Like, no one would know otherwise. We're just coworkers, and we're just, either coworkers or coach athlete.
So now I gotta show you this photo right here. Now look, he's smiling. Don't worry, he is smiling though.
Yeah.
Now tell me a little bit behind this photo right here.
I love to tell people that I fixed Stevie because he looks malnourished there. Like, no sleep, no food in him. That was 2 weeks after I fully moved to Ontario. So I moved literally 10 years ago. June 20th, 2014, I moved over. And 2 weeks into training with him, we went to Canadian National Golden Gloves, and I fought a 10-time national champion, and I was freaking out beforehand. Like, I've made the move across the country. I've told my parents, like, this is what I'm going to pursue, and I'm going to, put school on the back burner for now and pursue boxing. And what if I lose? What if this? What if that? And he just kept saying, like, stick to the game plan. You can beat her. I think I was going into having, like, 17 or 18 fights at the time, and this girl's 10-time national champion, like well over 10 fights, and we managed to beat her, and it was a very, like, you know, just a reassuring moment, like, you know, you've moved across the country at 19, 20 years of age, and big things are going to happen with this guy in your corner.
Stevie's magic touch. Steve, I see you laughing. Just let him have it.
I finally had a meal that night after.
Yeah, he did.
I see
Yeah.
you. 120 plus fights.
Yeah,
Like
140.
how? Like I mean 140. Okay, but like how do you keep her so like?
She was always willing to go, and like sometimes you can't be fresh all the time in fights. If you always wait for the time you're ready, it's not going to work. And in amateur boxing, you got to take advantage of the fact that it really is safe. Don't get me wrong, you get bruises, bloody noses, but the ref is going to protect you well in advance of actually getting hurt. There was a spell she did 11 weekends in a row she fought, and in that 11 weekends she had 22 fights. She fought twice a weekend, every weekend. I would move her up weight classes, down weight classes. I designed a sports bar where I could put weights in there to get her moving up in weight. I would make her cut a lot of weight to go down in, but the experience gained in that is why after 3 or 4 pro fights we can go as far as you win, right?
Exactly. What was like what's the most memorable place that you fought?
I would say my 4th nationals, winning in Quebec finally. That was like, okay, finally we did it, because like I said, I moved over from Vancouver, where I'm from, to Ontario to train with Stevie, and 2-3 years in a row I'd go to nationals and I'd lose in the final by split decision, and it's like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Like, you can't travel internationally and compete for Canada until you win nationals. So I go to nationals, I win, you know, during the year, 17 fights in a row. I go to nationals and I lose in the final by split decision, and now I got to train all over again, do it again the next year. I go again, I lose again, split decision to the same girl. Then we go again, and it's the same girl again. So finally, when I beat this girl, oh my gosh, she'd retired after me, thank the Lord. But I had lost 4 split decisions to that chick. And finally, in the 5th one, I beat her, and I was like, thank goodness. That was the most memorable one by far. That was back in 2017. And from then on, I was on Team Canada. I got to travel the world, and that's when everything started to really evolve. And I got all these, the experiences traveling the world.
Does this right here fall into like one of your most memorable fights?
It does, yeah, definitely. But I just feel like I had all the confidence in the world that I'm going to beat her. And right now, like, just thinking in my division at light fly, like, I know I'm going to beat them all. So like, I just, you know, hopefully my next fight later on in this year, we go after another title. And I'm so confident that I've already won that fight, and I'm already looking at, you know, April, May, hopefully of next year then, to be undisputed. So.
I gotta say, what got you into boxing?
So I was doing a lot of just school sports growing up. My parents never put me in anything. There's 4 of us, and everyone was put into extracurricular sports and activities outside of school, except for myself, because I had a lot of injuries growing up. Just a lot of foot problems, as Stevie said. Like, when you saw me at nationals, I was boxing on fractured feet, walking on broken glass. So I just competed in a lot of sports just in school. I loved basketball. I did that from ages 8 to 15. And going into my grade 11 year, our coach changed over, and she said, this year I'm going to be benching you and play all the juniors instead. And here I am as a senior. And I was like, what the heck? Like, that's not fair. She didn't like me, and I didn't like her, and she's terrible coach. I won't even mention her name, but she's the reason I got into boxing. So like, thank you for benching me. And so I went home that day. My parents are like, why are you so upset? Why are you crying? And I was like, yeah, my coach said that, you know, I'm going to bench you this year. You're not allowed to play. And what am I going to do? What am I going to do without basketball? Like, that's my whole world. And I was obsessed with Kobe Bryant, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, why don't you just go to the boxing gym with your brother? Like, he was in mixed martial arts and all the sports, and they're like, just go to the gym with him. And I was like, but look at him, like, he's got the broken nose, like, I don't want to look like that. And they're like, Sarah, you don't have to compete, like, just go train with him. So go to the gym with him. I absolutely loved it. The training was amazing. And so I continued to go whatever, and then, you know, 5-6 months down the road there, my coach was like, you know, you're ready for a fight. And so I took my first fight. I won. Back then it was point system, so I won 40-12. And I was like, clearly I'm pretty good at this. And pretty quickly I turned into open class, where I got to fight everyone and anyone. I was no longer a novice fighter. So it was neat how, I go to the boxing gym with my brother, and now I'm going to be a superstar in this sport. And having him, it was like the best competition ever, because he'd be like, you're a local level fighter. Like, I'm on the provincial team. So I'm like, now I have to get on the provincial team. He's like, you're on the provincial team. I'm on the national team. I'm like, God damn, now I'm going to have to get on the national team. He's like, oh, you're on the national team, but I go international. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, so it was like really healthy. Yeah. We'd butt heads a lot, but it was really healthy competition for the two of us. So because of that coach / my brother already being in boxing, like, it got me to this stage.
So boxing, like, it's like a genetic in your family. It just was there.
Martial arts, I guess, in general is. My dad was a wrestler for Iran for the national team. And the year he was meant to go to the Olympics, it actually got boycotted. So he was in the army instead. He went to military, where it was the Iran versus Iraq war instead. So he didn't get to pursue his dreams in sport, but his kids did instead.
So I'm not going to show you a photo here that probably means a lot to you. You got Stevie and obviously your late great brother right there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this photo right here.
Well, it's Christmas. That was of 2014, our first year in Ontario together. Stevie had bought that Christmas tree for us, and he didn't care about the holidays, but we did. And so I moved to Ontario first. And when I first moved, I was like, because my brother and I were so competitive in boxing, I said, I'm moving and you're not following. You have to stay in BC. I'm going to get better. I'm going to, get on the Canadian team and fight internationally and everything, and you're going to stay back where you are. So my brother was never on the national team until he trained with Stevie. So a couple months into it, I was like, oh my God, like, Stevie's like the guy to get my brother to like the top level. So finally I caved and I said, fine, move over, come live with us. And it was the three of us. And sure enough, he got on Team Canada before I did, which, again, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I moved first. Like, I wanted to get, ahead of him first, and I'm the older one. And he got there before I did. And yeah, that's just us at Christmas enjoying a good time together. And yeah, he's obviously missed, but my training has gotten so much better with, him just literally being like my little guardian angel. I feel like every time I'm training or every time I'm cutting weight, whatever, like, he's there with me and we're doing it together. And I don't think I've ever felt so close to him. So we were only 14 months apart, and yeah, it sucks, but I hopefully I'm making him proud, and he always told me I'd be a world champion, so here I am.
You are now world champion of the world. There you go. Now I gotta say, now, how important is legacy to you?
Very important. When I started out boxing, I didn't think like I'm gonna be an Olympian or I'm gonna be a world champion or I'm gonna be a professional boxer. It was just like little goals that I would set for myself, and now it's be the undisputed champion, be multiple division champ, and I just want to make history. I already have, and I just want to continue that and show to young girls or guys that like, if you have a little bit of sacrifice in life, like, you can get there. And although these 13 years, like, it's been long, it doesn't even seem like that long, right? It happened quicker than I thought it would, only being 4 fights in as a professional and making this happen. So a little bit of sacrifice and you're gonna get there.
And you're a huge role model as well. You train little girls and stuff. They look up to you and stuff at the West End, obviously. Like, how's that all about? Like, how do you enjoy that?
Absolutely love it. I love kids. Again, another sacrifice. Like, I've always wanted to have my own family, but I've put that on the back burner as well to, accomplish these things and show women, men that you can, like, anyone can. I was never naturally gifted. I just worked hard. I, moved across the country and left a good, stable job that I had. I left university, all of that to get this accomplishment, and it's so worth it. Like, when your hand's raised at the end of the day and it's you in that ring, it's like, okay, these are reassurances, like, this is so worth it.
It's like, no, this is running through my head. I got to say, I forgot to ask. Now, this is for you, Stevie. Now, was dinner served? Like, how you said you guys are living together. Now, when your brother lived with you, did you at least give him dinner? Like, was dinner
Yes,
served?
well, you could see he's been fed. He's been, like, let's go back to that picture. This man's been fed. And I can't stop him now. Like, it used to be a case of, like, we'd share a pizza and, like, we'd share a pizza. Now it's like, oh my God, I gotta put my slices aside. Cause, like, this guy's going through it so quick. Like, there's nothing left for me.
Doing her a favor for her weight.
Doing a favor for me.
So cheat meals. Wagner, what's your favorite cheat meal?
Everything.
Everything.
No. That's hard to pick. So after my fight, my girlfriend always gets me a carrot cake muffin. So that's 100%. Just all the carbs, man.
Exactly.
All the carbs.
Sarah, now right back to you. Like, what keeps you motivated? Because you train every single day, literally, are the champion, and now it's like next. Let's let the people know like what keeps you motivated.
Just having these little goals and just telling myself I'm going to be provincial champ, okay, get there. I'm going to be national champ, okay, get there. Or I'm going to do that, right? Like setting those goals and just making sure I get and I don't stop until I get there. So now it's okay, world champion. Okay, now I need to be unified. Then I need to be undisputed and just keep setting goals.
Exactly. And now, the main question everybody always wants to know: what is next for Sarah Bailey?
We are trying so hard. My promoter Tyler Buxton's trying so hard to get this unification between WBA and WBC. So I hope that we finalize it in the next week or two. The talk is if that doesn't happen, move down a weight class most likely and win another world title there. But it's not moving backwards, that's for sure. Like it's not, I don't even want to defend. Like it's like, what's the next step? Like I gotta do something different here.
Exactly. And boss, for you, I guess what's next is soon to come?
Fight news dropping soon. My team knows I'll fight anyone, anytime. I'll go to someone's backyard. I'll fight anyone. So I kind of leave that up to them, and it's going to be coming soon.
You're scaring me when you say anywhere. I'm like, now, Sarah, when it's all said and done, to wrap this up, what do you want the fans to remember Sarah Bailey as? In terms of boxing, technical boxer that comes out with a smile, like fist bumps the crowd, and once I'm in the ring, absolute savage, and I just want to dominate. Hitting these goals, like that's everything to me. So like showing people and all the fans and everyone that like just set small goals, realistic goals, know where you're at, listen to your team, and you'll get there. Exactly, guys. Now, I can't thank you guys enough. Obviously, now, this for me, guys, I got to say, 2017, I started this off. Obviously, my parents are here, guys. I love you guys so much. I started this off in my bedroom. I got an Amazon little logo flag. I started this off, like, talk about wrestling, combat sports, started posting, starting getting attraction. Like, I never think I'll be like this. Coach of champions, WBA champion of the world, IBF champion. Like, I'm beyond blessed, guys, and I'm speechless. I love you guys so much. In attendance, guys, I can't thank you guys so much for coming. And until next time, guys, I love you guys so much. And give it up for these people right here.